Hey guys, Matt McQueen here, and welcome to the table. I know this isn't your usual voice of Matt Uguay, but he's recovering from choking in last week's performance. Anyways, in today's video, we will be deep diving into 3 gun hooker options you can consider to start with in your team come round 1 of the 2023 NRL season. The first hooker we will be discussing is Sir Harry Grant. Is there much we need to say about Sir Harry? The man is a known, will be an Origin guarantee, priced at 856k or 59.9 points. He makes quite the dent in your starting salary cap, so let's see if he's worth chucking in your side from the start. Let's skip the nonsense talk regarding Grant's minutes. He will play the 80, or close to the 80 every game this season. The only exception to this will be a storm throbbing and whether Bellamy decides to give him a 10 to 15 minute spell as a result of this, and if this is the case, it is likely other star players will receive the same treatment. Looking at the 2022 season, games where Sir Harry played in the hooker position, he consumed a scrumptious 53 units of carbohydrates on average, making him a clear known that will do a job for your team week in, week out. Now with the cheese moving on, there is no reason to believe that he won't be able to produce the same numbers as last season. If not, improve his scoring slightly as he gains more experience. Alright, let's talk numbers. Sir Harry averaged 76.8 minutes in all his games of hooker last year, and delivered a whopping 61.8 average fantasy points. Not to mention, a fair few of these games were interrupted by key injuries to the Storm's spine. When accounting for this, across the 7 games Sir Harry played with a healthy Storm spine, he averaged a monstrous 66.4 points. Additionally, when looking at his career tackles to missed tackles, it seems his 2022 missed tackle numbers were inflated, while his tackles were a career low in 80 minutes. This is to say, an increase of 1 to 2 points from improvement in base or reduction in negatives seems reasonable. So it seems safe to project an average of 63 to 65 points this season. But more intriguing is how the Storm's early draw could impact his scoring in the first 13 rounds. Over that first stretch of games, it's possible Grant scores 67 plus if the Storm throb like we think they will. This opens up the strategy of trading Grant out during Origin to a non-Origin keeper, but I would only recommend that if you're playing overall, not head to head. All we can hope from looking at these stats is that the Storm spine can remain healthy all year round. Safe to say you can definitely class Sir Harry as an EATER for this fantasy season. Up next we have Reece Robson, priced at 783k or 54.8 points, a fair discount from our first option of Sir Harry. Let's go over whether Robson will make a good round 1 pick. With Granville's role seemingly changing a few rounds into the 2022 season, we saw him in and out of the starting 17 and playing more through the middle rather than spelling Robson at hooker. This was a blessing for Robson's fantasy output, which drastically increased when given that 80-minute hooking role. Based on how the Cowboys perform once adopting this new middle rotation, I don't see anything changing here for the upcoming 2023 season, and you can expect to see Robson playing close to 80 every game with a short spell at the end of those physically draining encounters here and there. Diving into the past season, when stepping into that 80-minute hooking role, Robson averaged 79.2 minutes, whilst consuming a mammoth 51.8 units of carbohydrates. This uptake of carbohydrates lays the foundation for his solid 58.7 average fantasy points within his 80-minute efforts. Watch out for a possible smoky Origin selection here, as the New South Wales Blues have been keen on Robson for some time now, so it may not be long before we see him make his Origin debut, although granted it will be hard to see where he fits in with the likes of Coruscant and Cook. As Granville inches closer to retirement and is slowly losing favour, we can expect to see Robson play a similar 80-minute role in the upcoming 2023 season. With the Cowboys on the up, and Robson gaining more experience, I can see him being a top hooker you definitely should consider slotting into your team. We're projecting Robson for a comfortable 58 to 60 average fantasy points this 2023 season, and we will most certainly be classing him as an EATER. Last, but certainly not least, is the other man who currently sits atop the hooking table with the likes of Sir Harry. It's none other than Damien Cook. Priced at 945k, or 66 points, one of the most expensive players in the game. Is he worth starting with? Let's sprint across this beach to find out. Analysing Beach Sprint's numbers across the 2022 season, we can see consistent and uninterrupted stints at the conveyor belt, resulting in an average of 66.2 fantasy points within an average of 78.5 minutes a game. Now, is this a reasonable expectation going into the 2023 season? Here's our 2 cents. After consuming a ridiculous amount of carbohydrates across his career, there is a high likelihood that this may be the season his consumption rate declines. Although, to be fair, most people have been predicting this for years. However, do not count out a known. Assuming a slight decline in fantasy scoring, the main threat to Beach's scoring is a decline in minutes to 70 a game as South's attempt to prolong the sprinter's career. All this being said, Beach will still be a top tier gun hooker averaging a projected 58 to 63 fantasy points a game this season. Due to the Bunnies' awkward bye schedule, if you are really keen on believing in the Beach, you may need to take the risk on him early rather than bringing him into your team after Origin, as they have a bye in round 16, 20 and 26. All this to say, everything seems to point towards Beach Sprint being classified as not an EATER. That's everything for today's video. Feel free to drop a comment regarding any questions you may have and check out the Discord in the description. Have fun and continue eating.